Your power lies in your mystery. Picture this for a moment. A great leader, a quiet force, walking among us, not revealing their every move, not sharing all their plans. In their silence, there is power. In their mystery, there is strength. People, both in the world of business and personal life, who keep parts of themselves hidden are often the ones who move mountains without anyone seeing the full picture. They remain calm, composed, and focused, never allowing others to predict their next move. This is the power of mystery. When we expose too much about ourselves, our intentions, goals, fears, even our vulnerabilities, we forfeit the element of surprise. We become predictable, and predictability is the death of personal power. You can think of life as a game of chess. Every move, every strategy is important, but when you announce your plans too loudly, you give away your advantage. Imagine if you were playing chess and told your opponent what you were going to do before you moved your pieces. What would happen? You'd lose the game. The same applies in real life. The more you reveal, the less room you have to maneuver freely. You allow others to influence your decisions, your thoughts, your next steps. And with that influence, you lose control of your own story. We all know people who talk too much about their lives, people who share details about every step they take. They want validation, approval, and praise, and they believe that revealing everything makes them more authentic. But in reality, revealing too much makes you vulnerable. It opens doors that should remain closed, and in that openness, you risk allowing others to manipulate or take advantage of your unguarded state. Take a moment to think about the individuals in history who have influenced the world on a grand scale. Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and even the likes of Steve Jobs. All of these individuals understood that part of their power came from the things they did not share. They didn't feel the need to broadcast every thought they had or every step they planned to take. They maintained an aura of mystery which allowed them to take the world by surprise. Mandela's long years in prison were a perfect example. Though his body was confined, his mind was free, and in that silence, he cultivated a vision for change that would later spark a movement. He didn't reveal the fullness of his plans until it was time. This controlled mystery gave him an edge, making his eventual actions all the more impactful. Had he broadcasted his thoughts and strategies, his enemies could have prepared themselves. But his power was in his ability to keep his next move hidden until it was absolutely necessary to act. That's the kind of power you gain when you hold back and allow yourself to remain an enigma. You control not only the game, but also the timing of your success. Many of us find ourselves tempted to share our goals too early. We talk about our dreams to friends, family, even strangers on social media, hoping for affirmation, validation, or encouragement. But when we share too soon, we expose ourselves to criticism, doubt, or even sometimes people's skepticism can prevent us from following through on our plans. And the longer we talk about our dreams, the less drive we have to actually work on them. This is the danger of oversharing. The moment we speak our goals into existence, we place them in the hands of others, and not everyone will treat them with care. This is particularly true in the world of business or entrepreneurship. Imagine a startup founder who speaks about their new business idea at every social gathering. As the months pass, the excitement wears off, and what was once a unique, exciting idea becomes one of many. It no longer holds the same power because everyone already knows about it. This is why many successful entrepreneurs work in silence, building, refining, creating behind closed doors. When they finally release their product or service to the world, it's not just a business, it's a movement, a game changer. Think about Elon Musk and his approach to innovation. Musk has always maintained an air of mystery surrounding his projects. Whether it's Tesla, SpaceX, or his more recent ventures, he doesn't broadcast every detail of his vision. Instead, he focuses on developing groundbreaking products in silence. letting his results speak for themselves. When SpaceX successfully landed its first rocket, the world was astonished because no one expected it to happen. Musk's ability to keep things under wraps until the perfect moment gave him an enormous advantage. Had he revealed every move, every failure, every challenge along the way, his vision may have been diluted by others' doubts. But instead, he used mystery to build anticipation and deliver extraordinary success. In our own lives, we often misunderstand the power of mystery because we're taught to share and be transparent. We're told that opening up leads to connection and understanding. While there is value in vulnerability, there is also value in knowing when to keep things to yourself, when to let your actions speak louder than your words. When you keep certain aspects of your life private, you maintain control over your personal narrative. You get to decide when and how others will see the real you, and you can ensure that what they see is your best self. Calm, composed, and powerful. There is power in holding back, not because you are hiding who you are, but because you are protecting your potential. The mystery is not about deception or deceit. It is about preserving your personal energy, focus, and vision for the moments that truly matter. In essence, the more you reveal, the less space you leave for your dreams to evolve and manifest. By keeping your intentions and plans close to your chest, you safeguard the purity of your vision. You maintain control over your journey, untainted by the judgments and opinions of others. This doesn't mean you should never share your aspirations. It simply means you must be intentional about who you let in and when. Let people see the results of your hard work rather than the struggle that led you there. Be careful not to open yourself up to every influence that comes your way. Preserve the mystery, and you will find that your journey will be far more powerful and fulfilling than you ever imagined. Protect your energy. In a world that demands so much from us, we often forget one crucial thing. Our energy is our most valuable asset. It's what fuels our thoughts, our creativity, our relationships, and our actions. Once we begin to understand the true value of our energy, we realize that it is something that must be guarded carefully, just like a precious treasure. Yet many of us allow others to take it without realizing the cost. Every time you share too much about your life, your ambitions, your struggles, you open yourself to the risk of emotional, mental, and even physical drain. This is particularly true when you're dealing with people who take more than they give, those who have no respect for your boundaries and whose questions or demands chip away at your inner peace. The more you reveal about yourself, the more vulnerable you become to their influence. And without realizing it, your energy begins to slip away. Consider this. How often do you find yourself exhausted after a conversation or an interaction with someone who constantly seeks to pry into your life? It's almost as if they are taking something from you that you cannot get back. This isn't by accident. People who demand too much of your time, too much of your attention, and too much of your emotional bandwidth are often unaware of the toll it takes on you. But you know, you feel it. And every time you let them in, you feel a little more drained, a little more distant from your own truth. The key to maintaining control over your energy is setting boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. You must understand that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your dreams, or your struggles. People who are emotionally or mentally draining don't need to know every detail of your life. The more you give them, the less you have for yourself. There's a danger in overexposing yourself, especially when you share your vulnerabilities with the wrong people. Vulnerability is not inherently bad. It's a strength, a sign of courage. But vulnerability, when shared with the wrong person, can be like handing someone a loaded weapon. It can be used against you. And when your energy is taken, it's not just your feelings that are affected. It can impact your ability to focus, your productivity, and even your physical well-being. Think about a time when you poured your heart out to someone, thinking they would listen with compassion, only to feel misunderstood or dismissed afterward. The energy you spent, the trust you offered, it wasn't reciprocated. Instead of feeling uplifted, you felt drained, as if your emotional battery had been depleted. This is why it is so important to protect your energy. It is an ongoing investment in your own well-being. There's a reason why we often feel exhausted after spending time with certain individuals. These individuals may not intend to deplete us, but their constant emotional demands, their incessant questioning, or their negative energy can weigh on us. Every moment spent trying to explain yourself or justify your decisions is a moment you could have spent protecting your own peace, doing something productive, or nurturing the relationships that nourish you. A perfect example of this concept can be seen in the lives of many successful individuals who choose to guard their energy. Take the story of the late Steve Jobs, for example. Jobs wasn't someone who shared every detail of his personal or professional life. He was notoriously private, keeping his plans close to his chest. He understood that his energy had to be carefully directed toward the development of Apple and his broader vision. If he had spent his time appeasing the curiosity of every person around him, he would have lost his focus and with it the ability to create what he did. His success was a result of his ability to guard not just his ideas, but his emotional and mental energy. This practice of protecting energy doesn't only apply to successful entrepreneurs. It's essential for everyone, whether you are pursuing a career, raising a family, or working on personal growth. Think about the people in your life who constantly drain you. Those who call for advice at the worst possible moments, those who have no respect for your boundaries, or those who constantly expect you to put their needs before your own. These people are taking more from you than they realize. Every time you entertain their demands, you are giving away your energy, and eventually, it will affect you in a way. You must learn to be selective about who you allow into your personal world. Not everyone is worthy of your time, your thoughts, or your inner peace. Some people thrive on your energy. They feed off your attention, your kindness, your willingness to listen. But by constantly giving, you are left with less for yourself. Over time, this can lead to burnout, frustration, and even resentment. But protecting your energy doesn't mean becoming selfish or withdrawing from the world. It means learning how to prioritize your own well-being and recognizing that not everyone who seeks your attention deserves it. It's about balance, knowing when to engage, when to hold space for others, and when to retreat and recharge. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every day you make deposits and withdrawals. Some interactions are a deposit. They uplift you, inspire you, or simply bring you joy. Other interactions, however, are withdrawals. They drain you, leaving you feeling empty or depleted. The key is to ensure that your emotional bank account remains full and that you don't allow constant withdrawals without making enough deposits. A major part of this is learning to say no. Learning to protect your time, your thoughts, and your space is crucial for maintaining energy. It's not always easy, especially when we're taught to please others, to always be available, or to give without expecting anything in return. But you must understand that if you keep giving and giving, eventually you will have nothing left to give. You will be running on empty, and when that happens, you can no longer serve yourself, let alone others. Take time to assess your relationships and interactions. Are you constantly exhausted after speaking with certain people? Do you feel drained after sharing too much about your life? If so, it's time to start protecting your energy. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. When you protect your energy, you are not being selfish. You are preserving your ability to live fully, to achieve your goals, and to cultivate the peace you need to thrive. Your energy is one of the most precious resources you possess. Every time you protect it, you make space for the things that matter most. Every time you say no, you say yes to yourself, the strength of your boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines we draw in our lives, the rules we set that define how we interact with others, and most importantly, how we protect ourselves. They are not walls, rather they are essential markers that safeguard our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. When we fail to establish and maintain strong boundaries, we open ourselves up to being overwhelmed, manipulated, and drained by the demands of others. Without boundaries, we allow the world to shape us rather than shaping our own lives. This is why knowing where to draw the line is critical, not just to your happiness, but to your survival. Boundaries are often misunderstood as something negative, as if putting up walls between ourselves and others means we are being selfish or unkind. In reality, boundaries are a sign of self-respect. They say, I value my time, my energy, and my peace. It's not about keeping people out, but about ensuring that the relationships and interactions you engage in respect your needs and limits. When you have clear boundaries, you invite healthy relationships into your life. Relationships that nurture you, not drain you. Think of the analogy of a garden. If you leave the garden unprotected, with no fence or barrier, anyone can walk through it, trampling over your plants and taking what they want. However, by setting up boundaries, whether it's a fence, a gate, or simply planting certain flowers or bushes that act as a natural border, you ensure that only those who respect the space and its needs can enter. You control who gets to tend to the garden and how it grows. Your life works in much the same way. When you allow everyone to access your thoughts, emotions, and time without restraint, you allow them to control the direction your life takes. You give away the power that should belong to you. For many of us, setting boundaries can feel difficult. We've been taught to be accommodating, to put others first, to be helpful, and to avoid conflict. While there is nothing wrong with being kind and compassionate, there is a fine line between kindness and self-sacrifice. Too often, we give so much of ourselves that we lose sight of who we are. We find ourselves bending over backwards for people who do not appreciate our effort, leaving us feeling resentful and drained. And the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to recognize that we have the right to draw a line. Think about a time when someone overstepped your boundaries, whether in your personal life or your professional life. Maybe a friend asked for too much of your time, or a coworker expected you to take on more than you could handle. How did it make you feel? Were you left with a sense of frustration or a feeling of being taken for granted? The truth is, when we don't establish clear boundaries, we teach people how to treat us. If we constantly say yes, if we never voice our needs or limitations, we inadvertently encourage others to take advantage of our kindness. And in doing so, we sacrifice our own well-being. One of the most powerful acts of self-love is the ability to say no to others and to ourselves. Saying no isn't about being rude or unkind. It's about knowing your worth and your limit. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are finite and you cannot afford to waste them on things or people that do not align with your values, goals, or needs. Saying no is a skill that takes practice, but once you master it, you will find that you regain a sense of control over your life and your emotions. You no longer feel like a passive participant in your own life, but an active creator of your destiny. Consider how successful people manage their boundaries. Bill Gates, for example, is known for his disciplined approach to time and energy management. He famously blocks off hours of his day for focused work, saying no to meetings, distractions, or unsolicited requests that don't align with his priorities. Gates' ability to protect his time has been one of the keys to his success. He has learned that not every opportunity is worth his attention, and not every person deserves access to his time and energy. His life is a testament to the power of boundaries. When you refuse to let others overstep your boundaries, you also create space for personal growth. You protect the sacred time needed for self-reflection, learning, and development. Without these moments of solitude and peace, you are left without the clarity to pursue your goals and dreams effectively. In the absence of boundaries, it's too easy to get lost in the chaos of other people's needs, constantly reacting to what's thrown your way rather than moving forward with intention and purpose. Strong boundaries also give us the ability to prioritize ourselves. Imagine being in a relationship where your needs are constantly sidelined, where the other person's needs always take precedence. Over time, this will create resentment, burnout, and emotional exhaustion. Relationships like this are one-sided and they do not allow you to grow or thrive. But when you set boundaries, you communicate that your needs are important too, that your dreams, your aspirations, and your time are just as worthy of respect. This doesn't mean you stop caring for others. It simply means you recognize that you can't pour from an empty cup. Boundaries protect your mental health in a world that often demands more than it should. In today's fast-paced, always connected society, we're constantly bombarded with information, requests, and expectations. The pressure to constantly be available, to respond to texts, emails, phone calls, social media messages can feel suffocating. But by setting clear boundaries with your time and attention, you regain control. You decide when and how you will engage with the world rather than allowing the world to dictate your schedule. This is a powerful act of self-care. But setting boundaries doesn't just mean saying no to others. It also means saying no to yourself. How often do we push ourselves beyond our limits, believing that we must always be productive, always be achieving? Sometimes setting a boundary with yourself means taking a step back, giving yourself permission to rest, to recharge, and to nurture your own soul. In a society that constantly praises hustle and achievement, it can be hard to accept that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to simply be still, to say no to the demands of the world and listen to your inner voice. As you begin to recognize the importance of boundaries, it's essential to start small. Begin by identifying areas in your life where you feel overextended, where you give more than you receive, or where your peace is constantly being disturbed. Set small limits and hold yourself accountable. Over time, these boundaries will become second nature. They will no longer feel like a burden or an act of selfishness, but a declaration of self-worth and self-respect. By setting strong boundaries, you honor not only your own life, but also the relationships that truly matter. You show others that your time, energy, and peace are precious, and that only those who respect those boundaries are allowed into your world. The freedom in silence. Silence is not just the absence of noise. It is a profound tool that allows you to reclaim your power and focus. In a world that constantly demands our attention, noise is inescapable. Whether it's the relentless buzz of notifications, the demands of others, or the incessant chatter in our own minds, silence often feels like a luxury we can't afford. But it is precisely in silence that we find clarity, peace, and the freedom to listen to our inner voice. When we fail to embrace silence, we risk becoming overwhelmed by the external noise around us. We lose the ability to think clearly, to process our emotions, and to tap into our creative potential. The more we talk, the more we expose ourselves to the influence of others, whether it's their expectations, opinions, or judgments. The more we allow ourselves to be swept up in conversation, the less space we have to connect with our own thoughts, to reflect on our own desires, and to focus on our true purpose. Think about a time when you were surrounded by constant noise, whether it was a busy day at work, a social gathering, or an endless string of distractions at home. How did it make you feel? Did you feel like you were losing control of your time and energy, pulled in too many directions at once? It's easy to feel scattered when you are constantly bombarded by external forces. Silence, on the other hand, allows you to recalibrate. It gives you the space to reconnect with your thoughts, your goals, and your deepest desires. There is power in silence because it allows you to observe without reacting. When we are constantly engaged in conversation or consumed by the noise around us, we react instinctively to every situation. We feel the need to defend ourselves, to explain our actions, or to justify our choices. But in silence, we stop reacting and begin to reflect. We gain the distance needed to evaluate situations more thoughtfully. We find the wisdom that comes from pausing before speaking or acting. Think of the great leaders, innovators, and thinkers throughout history. Many of them, like Mahatma Gandhi, Albert Einstein, and even contemporary figures like Bill Gates, have always made time for solitude. They understood that their most important insights, decisions, and breakthroughs were not born in the noise, but in the quiet moments when they allowed themselves the freedom to think deeply without interruption. Gandhi famously said, "In the silence of the soul, the voice of truth speaks." This is the power of silence, the ability to tune out the noise of the world so that you can hear the voice of truth within yourself. We often misunderstand silence, viewing it as a sign of weakness or passivity. We are taught to fill the silence with words, to be constantly talking, explaining, or convincing others. But in reality, silence is an act of strength. It is the strength to resist the pull of external expectations and to stay grounded in your own truth. It is the strength to listen, both to others and, more importantly, to yourself. Silence enables you to filter out the unnecessary, the trivial, and the distracting, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. The freedom in silence is the freedom to create. When your mind is cluttered with noise, your creativity is stifled. You cannot hear the whispers of inspiration, the quiet nudges that guide you toward your true purpose. Creativity needs space to breathe, and silence provides that space. In the stillness, your thoughts can flow freely, unencumbered by the demands and judgments of the outside world. The greatest ideas often come when we are alone, in moments of stillness and solitude. Take the example of writers or artists. Many of the most profound works of art and literature were created in silence. When the artist or writer stepped away from the noise of the world and allowed their thoughts to unfold naturally. J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, famously wrote the first book in a quiet cafe, away from distractions. It was in that silence that she was able to create a world that would inspire millions. Silence is not empty, it is filled with potential. It is in silence that we make room for our dreams to take root and grow. Embracing silence also allows us to protect our energy. Every time we engage in unnecessary conversations, share too much about ourselves, or entertain distractions, we drain our resources. But when we choose silence, we conserve our energy for the moments that truly matter. We stop giving our time and focus to people or situations that do not serve us, and instead we direct that energy toward the things that will help us grow and evolve. Silence teaches us to be intentional with our time and our thoughts, to invest in our own growth rather than depleting ourselves on things that do not align with our purpose. The art of silence is about reclaiming control over your life. It is about choosing to prioritize your own thoughts, ideas, and desires over the noise of the world. In a society that encourages constant busyness, silence becomes an act of defiance. It is an act of standing firm in your own power and refusing to be swept away by the tide of external demands. When you choose silence, you choose to listen to your own voice. The voice that knows what is right for you. And remember, silence does not mean isolation. It is not about shutting yourself off from the world or avoiding meaningful connections. Rather, it is about knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to pause. Silence is not the absence of life. It is the absence of unnecessary noise. It is the space where true life begins, where ideas are born, clarity emerges, and peace resides. The weight of words. Words are powerful. They have the ability to heal, to inspire, and to transform. But they also have the potential to wound, to deceive, and to mislead. In a world where we are encouraged to speak our minds, share our opinions, and express ourselves at every turn, it's easy to forget the weight of the words we use. Our words carry energy. Energy that can either uplift or tear down, inspire or dishearten, build bridges or create barriers. When we speak, we invite others into our world, but the words we choose can shape the way others perceive us. They can give us the power to connect, to influence, and to create change. But they can also expose our vulnerabilities, our insecurities, and our weaknesses. This is why it is essential to be mindful of the words we speak and to understand the responsibility that comes with sharing ourselves with others. We've all experienced the impact of words in our lives. A compliment can lift our spirits. A harsh criticism can sting. And an unkind remark can linger in our minds long after it's been said. Words can create lasting impressions, whether positive or negative, and often, once they are spoken, they cannot be taken back. The damage is done. This is why it is so important to consider the weight of your words before you speak them. Are they necessary? Are they kind? Do they reflect the person you wish to be? This is not to say that silence is always the answer. Sometimes speaking your truth is the most powerful thing you can do. But speaking from a place of intention, from a place of wisdom and self-awareness, ensures that your words have the impact you intend. When you speak, do so with purpose, not out of impulse. When you share, make sure it aligns with your values and is said in a way that respects both your own boundaries and the boundaries of others. The weight of words is also felt in our self-talk. How often do we criticize ourselves, doubt our abilities, or speak negatively about our potential? The words we use to describe ourselves shape our identity and our reality. If you continually speak to yourself with doubt and negativity, you will limit your ability to grow and succeed. But when you change your inner dialogue, when you speak to yourself with kindness and encouragement, you create the foundation for success and fulfillment. Being mindful of the weight of words is about understanding that your speech is an extension of your energy. When you speak freely and without care, you may give away too much of your inner power. But when you choose your words carefully, when you allow silence to balance your speech, you become more intentional in how you present yourself to the world. Your words carry weight, and it is up to you to decide how you will use them. The life you lead is shaped by the choices you make every single day, by the boundaries you set, the silence you embrace, and the words you speak. Each of these elements gives you the power to protect your energy, to preserve your inner peace, and to direct your life with intention. By choosing to keep certain parts of your life private, you protect your most valuable resource, your energy. By embracing silence, you create the space needed for clarity, creativity, and self-reflection. And by being mindful of your words, you ensure that the message you send to the world is one of strength, purpose, and self-respect. We live in a world that demands our attention, our time, and often our very selves. But the true power lies in knowing when to withdraw, when to say no, and when to speak only with intention. It is through these acts of self-preservation and empowerment that you will find the strength to pursue your dreams, protect your peace, and create the life you desire. Never forget that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. When you value your own boundaries, when you protect your energy, and when you speak your truth, you are not only elevating your own life, but setting an example for those around you. Your actions show others how to treat you, and they teach the world the importance of self-respect and self-care. So take a moment today and ask yourself, what are you protecting? What boundaries are you setting? And how are you using your words? Your life is yours to shape. And in the silence, in the stillness, and in the wisdom of your own voice, you will find the strength to create the life you've always dreamed of. Stand firm in your boundaries. Choose your words with care. and allow silence to be the sanctuary where your dreams are born.